Our cleaning companies should be foolproof, and they must be foolproof because we need to be able to hire anybody off the street and set them up for success and have all of our systems in place so where they come in, they feel supported, they feel like they're set up for success, and then they go and provide extremely high quality and they're a great fit for the team. As you can imagine, hiring just anybody off the street is not a great idea because you need to also hire the right people who are the right culture fits. I promise the one thing that can take you out in this kind of business is the people. And not because they're doing something wrong, but because we don't know as new business owners how to pick the right people, for one, and then how to set those people up for success with our streamlined, like, foolproof systems. So we struggle enough with that, which is filling the basic role in our company of the cleaner position, right? We have predominantly cleaners on our team, especially when we're first starting out, because we're still trying to figure out how to set up that position. What are the hours going to be? What do we have to pay? How do we sign them? How do we onboard them? How do we terminate them if we need to? How do we stay compliant? Like, all of those things we need to figure out with the cleaner position. But what happens when we actually need to level up and have different positions in our company, like a lead position or a manager position? Well, now we add another layer of something that we need to look for when we're hiring, and that is skill. So oftentimes we can't hire absolute, like, 110% the skill that we need, where they come in and they can already just do it themselves. They don't need any direction. They don't even need any of your systems. They just kind of take over and they do a great job. That's usually not what we can afford in this industry because our margin is itty bitty. So we have to hire people that have slight skill deficits, but people who are still good for that type of role. So for instance, when you're hiring for a lead or a manager position, they have to have a slightly different skill set to somebody who might be a cleaner. I don't talk about this a lot on social media because it's kind of hard to talk to people who are not in this industry, who are not also small business owners, who haven't experienced the difference in hiring a cleaner versus hiring a lead or a manager. But there is a clear difference in the skill set that is needed there. And yes, you can teach it, but also picking the right person where they are a culture fit, but they also have a personality who is going to align with that type of work. For instance, you don't want to have somebody in the lead position who is just a stress ball and frazzled all the time and can't handle pressure, right? Because sometimes a lead is going to be the one in charge of making sure that the alarm is set at a commercial property, and sometimes that alarm is not going to set right the first time, so it's going to go really loud and they're going to have to go back in and reset the alarm. The lead has to take care of something like that without getting into a frenzy and everything going wrong and the cops getting called. The lead is the one who is taking care of a short-staffed team. So while they might get off at the same time, so they're going to get off at 5 no matter what, but they might be short-staffed that day. And it might be the case that we need to switch around the schedule a little bit so that they have less cleans and less work, so that a smaller number of staff can take care of the schedule for that day. If you have somebody where any change that takes place throws them into just like a frenzy and they're so stressed and they can't handle it, and they come and they're all worked up and they kind of spew that into the team and they're like, oh my god, like, I can't believe so-and-so called in again and blah blah blah. Not the right person to be the lead, because they're setting the tone for the rest of the team. There are things about certain people that make them not the right fit for certain roles that you have in your company. Sometimes when you are hiring people, you have no idea though, right? So you hire this person, they look like a great culture fit, they're super kind, they've cleaned before, and you're getting them into this lead role. So let's say that you get them into this lead role and then all of a sudden everything starts to break down. They can't handle the new trainee because they're saying that the trainee is going too slow and that they're not listening to them. And then somebody else goes and trains them and it's completely fine. You're like, I wonder why it didn't work when they were with this other lead that I just hired. Okay, so you switch them to that other person, they do great, and they, pass their 30-day review. Then you check up on a clean, let's say, the lead has a different trainee at this point. So you go do a spot inspection, and that trainee, you ask her a question like, hey, how are you doing on this checklist? And she's a week in, she doesn't even know about the checklist. This is a critical point in your business, because what usually happens is that person stays and you have this built up resentment as the owner, because you're like, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, this person just has like fires that follow them. So no matter what I tell them about the alarm, no matter what I tell them about GPS, no matter what I tell them about the checklist, no matter what type of manual I give them, no matter what type of personal checklist I give them, no matter what type of accountability I give them, they're still not doing what I need them to do on pretty much every level of the position. It just continues to happen longer and longer and longer. And then guess what happens? All of the behaviors and all of the things about that person that make them not a good fit for the role bleeds into the rest of the team. That person's behaviors are now in everybody else in the team. So now you have multiple fires to put out every single day. Again, I do not talk about this a lot. I don't like talking about termination. It can be triggering. I don't like talking about this on social media, but I had a 6.5 hour long meeting with one of my mentees yesterday because she's at this critical point where if she does not terminate this one person who is her constraint, she's literally going to quit. She is going to close down her business because her stress levels and anxiety and her reputation, because they're not providing high quality service, it's all going to tank. And she wants to quit. And sometimes I'm not joking. I have seen it myself. I've seen it in other businesses. Sometimes you get to this critical point where it's either terminate this one employee or quit, or literally quit your business. Let's talk about how we can avoid this situation altogether really quick, because if you can avoid this decision in your mind where you're either going to terminate this one person or you're going to close your entire business, we need to just avoid that. We should never get there. So how do we do that? How do we set people up for success where it's like foolproofed? So you need to have an SOP for everything. An SOP is a standard operating procedure. So let's talk about like cleaners and those SOPs. So what's your SOP when you pull up to the house? Do you park in the driveway or do you park on the street? What's your SOP when you are doing your huddle in your driveway? Do you huddle for 5 minutes? Do you huddle for 10 minutes? Who's the one talking? Do you go in the house all together? Who's carrying what? What flow do you have throughout the house? Are you starting in the back and going towards the door? Are you splitting it up based on who's training? What are you using as a checklist? Is that checklist a good checklist? That's one of most people's checklists are not actually that good. And when I say not good, I mean some of it is nuanced. So if somebody can look at it and perceive it in one way, but another person can look at it and perceive it in another way, it's not a good checklist. It should be absolutely like, there's no question when it says clean the baseboards, you mean wet wipe the baseboards throughout the entire house. Like, there should be no question. And I also try to stay away from any like partial cleaning on anything. So it's either we clean it or we don't. So no like cleaning just spot cleaning or cleaning the edges or anything like that. It's we clean the whole surface or we don't. What's your SOP for cleaning everything in the house? So what's your SOP for cleaning a shower? What's your SOP for cleaning a shower with mold? What's your SOP for cleaning a shower with hard water? What's your SOP for cleaning a shower with bronze handles, which are, oh my God, the biggest nightmare ever. We had a bronze handle one time turn green. Anyway, what's your SOP for that? What's your SOP for cleaning hardwood floors? Is it different than your SOP for cleaning marble? And are these things actually written down? That's one of the biggest things that we're missing, is we think because it's in our head and we say it once to our team that they just get it. And I promise that they don't, because you're not actually setting them up to get it. You're setting yourself up to think that they get it, and then when they do it wrong or they forget or they do it in a different way, you're going to start resenting your team. And you should not put yourself or your team in that position. You need to have everything written down as a documented SOP. And outside of SOPs, you also need to have policies. And another way that you can have a foolproof checklist, which is so important, like one of the biggest things, and that's for whether you have W-2s or contractors, a foolproof checklist needs to be hosted digitally. So something that I did before I sold my business this year is I hosted that checklist on Jobber. Jobber is the sponsor of this video today. Honestly, all of the systems that I'm talking about, we hosted on Jobber. So we had all of the information when it came to parking and all of that on Jobber. We had all of the information about what flow we needed to do throughout the house on Jobber. We had that checklist on Jobber. We were also able to check it off, and the admin who was kind of making sure the timing was going accurately at each house, especially new houses where it's kind of more variable, she was able to look in there and see, okay, they've gotten halfway through the checklist, they're about halfway through the house, okay, yeah, we're good on time. We were able to customize those checklists, so we would literally have on there like Sam's bedroom. You know, if there was like a kid in the house, we would have a playroom on there. So it's not like it was just bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3. And that way, each person who was in charge of that part of the house, they would know, and it wouldn't be confusing. Like, are we bedroom 1, 2, 3? Which one is mine again? None of that, because they were clearly labeled Sam's bedroom, playroom, right? So it was amazing. And I didn't make that shift to using all of the functions within Jobber until like a couple years ago, and honestly it changed everything in terms of our quality control. We also use that for training, so when we're using that checklist, we are now able to train more so on how to do each item rather than memorizing all the things on the checklist. Because what I used to literally do is I would quiz people on the checklist, right, because they needed to memorize it when they were in the house. Instead of that, we're able to have that checklist just right in front of them. They can literally have it right here. They can check things off as they're going. And all they're worried about as a trainee, like their first couple days, they're not worried about memorizing what's in the room. They're worried about their quality on each item. I can't say enough good things about Jobber, and honestly, it was the reason why I felt so organized. Everything felt structured, and it felt like the job was foolproof. If you'd like to try Jobber for free, hit the link down below. It's my discount code. And thank you so much, Jobber, again for sponsoring this video. On top of SOPs, we also want to have policies in place for things like call-ins. So again, another thing that I see take small business owners out in this industry is people calling in. Because what happens? People call in, and then you have to go either in yourself. So you're trying to do all the other things that your business requires. So you sales, marketing, talking to clients, administrative stuff, bookkeeping, billing, like all that stuff, and you're excited about your day, you've got your time blocked out, maybe you're at a coffee shop, you're on your computer, and then all of a sudden you have to run in on site and make up for the fact that somebody called in. One, it doesn't create a good relationship with your team because you have no expectations. So you're going to have an expectation in your mind on how many times they can call in and how many times are reasonable, and I promise the expectation is not going to match. They're not just going to have in their head the exact same expectation that you do. I promise. So if there's no policy in place, it's really hard for them to read your mind and do what you consider to be the right thing that aligns with succeeding in your company. So then what's going to happen? People are going to call in, and you're going to have to terminate them at some point, but they're not even going to know it's coming because you have no way to escalate it because there's no expectation in the first place. So there has to be an existing policy there. You also have to know and have an SOP around escalating that policy. So when somebody is at their 4th call-in and you have 8 for the year, let's just say they call in and you don't say anything. So then they call in again and it's their 5th one. You don't say anything. So then they call in again. It's their 6th one. You don't say anything. Then they call in again. It's their 7th one. You're like, hey, like you literally only got one more. They're like, I had no idea. And that's all you say because you haven't said anything else leading up to that. And then they call in again. It's their 8th call in. And you're like, I'm sorry, like, you're terminated. You're on your 8th one. She'd be like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea. Like, I mean, is there anything that I can do? Like, why am I getting terminated? I had no idea that it was even coming. Like, I thought it was 10. You don't want any of that. Trust me, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And also, it sucks for your teammates because, again, there's no clear expectation. Even if you do have that policy, do not just let that policy float out in the ether. You have to be communicating it all the time. So when somebody calls in, let's just use their 6th call-in. Like, let's say they've got 8 for the year. When you have 6 call-ins, you need an SOP that triggers somebody to text that person and let them know, hey, we've only got 2 left. So I just want to make sure that today's the day that you want to take for a sick day. Yes? Okay, perfect. We'll see you tomorrow. And then when they call in again, you're going to say, hey, you've only got 1 day left. So I just want to remind you that if you do call in again, that is grounds for termination. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, but I just want you to know if you do call in again, and the deadline is, Jan 1. So in January 1, it all starts over again. So it all resets. Then when somebody calls in the 8th time, they know it's coming. They literally call in, they're like, I know that I'm terminated. Like, okay. and it's smooth, because it's not like this person has whiplash from thinking like, oh, I'm totally fine, and then gets this random call from you that they're not expecting at all, and then you end up needing to terminate them on that call. I'm so passionate about this because if I did one thing wrong, which I did like a million, but if I could pick just one, it'd be this. It would 110% be this. I had no people skills when it came to managing. I had no skill when it came to actually putting policies in place. I had no skill to actually create SOPs around those policies. And so I just had this expectation that everybody was just going to do exactly what I thought they should, because I thought it was common sense. Everybody else must think the exact same, when they absolutely do not. They absolutely do not. And you know what? That's okay, because some jobs might be totally fine with that, and that's perfect. But in this industry, if we don't have some sort of policy, I promise, it's going to take you out. You're going to want to quit. Other policies that you could have in place, you should have quite a few, and not even policies, but more so like, when this happens, this happens. So when you are late to a clean, what happens? Okay, that first one, you get a text reminding you when to, arrive on site. If another one happens in the span of a week, you get an escalation text. So the second text has a different script. If another one doesn't happen for 6 months, you start over again. That should be, that's a policy. But there's also an SOP tied to it, so that the people who are actually managing know how to put it into place. I care so much about this. I could talk about it forever. I could talk about it all day long, but I'm going to end it there. If you guys have any questions or want me to go even more in detail about SOPs, policies, how to put those policies into place, how to make sure that you're hiring the right person that's the right fit for your company, make sure that you're hiring on skill but still able to afford it, I can deep dive into any of those things. So just let me know in the comments if you want me to. And I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much again, Jobber, for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.